Welcome to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. I want to thank you for staying with us and listening to us on a regular basis. The feedback we continue to get as we celebrate so many wonderful people from across the state of Mississippi who are working the trenches to make this a better place. So much to learn from them, so much inspiration to get. And the feedback we get from the show is really, really good. And so, whether you're listening to this show on SuperTalk, which is, radio's king as it relates to SuperTalk, Mississippi. But if you're listening on Facebook or YouTube or your favorite podcast or SuperTalk TV at C Spire TV, we appreciate you joining us and in this one more celebration. Listen, I got a couple of quick quotes to share with you before we get to our guest today, Wendy Swetman, my friend Wendy Swetman. But before we do that, let me share these two quotes. One popped up in my history book that I get every morning, and it was a quote from Franklin D. Roosevelt, and it was celebrating, in fact, that he was born back in January 1882. January of 1882. But he once said this: "We need the courage of the young. May every one of us be granted the courage, the faith, and the vision to give the best that is in us." I love that. I love the way he started that, though. We need the courage of the young. And then he talks about all of us having the courage and the faith and the vision to give the best that is in us. One of the things that we get to celebrate on this show all the time is the people who join us are working really hard to give the best of themselves. We'll be hearing more about that with our friend Wendy Swetman here in just a second. And here's one that my friend Robert St. John, the restaurateur, and most of us know him through his many, many cookbooks and his PBS TV show. Robert's just such a wonderful guy, gives back to the community. I enjoy the time he and I spend on this show. But he posted this, and he said about it, by the way, that the thought moves me. That's what he said about this. The thought moves me. And here's what the quote said: "At some point in your childhood, you and your friends went outside to play together for the last time, and nobody knew it." Think about that for a minute. You and your friends went outside to play together for the last time, and nobody knew it. Man, if we would have known it, maybe we would have celebrated that moment. Or maybe we would have said, how do we capture this in a bottle so that we can bring it into the future with us? Because as kids get more and more on their mobile devices and get sort of, the technology kind of takes their brains and uses their idle time, we could open it back up and remind everybody that it's important to get outside and just play with your friends and explore and do all those things without a mobile phone anywhere near us. At some point in your childhood, you and your friends went outside to play together for the last time, and nobody knew it. Yeah, it gives you a lot to think about, that's for sure. So let me bring my friend in, Wendy Swetman. He and his family own, and he leads Swetman Security Service. They hit on a bunch of cylinders. Wendy and I have shared before that he is very committed to the community. He's been in public life before, and I always enjoy checking in with him. And without any further ado, let me welcome my friend Wendy. How you doing, Wendy?
Hey, good morning, Ricky. Doing fantastic, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Hey, listen, I should tell our listeners that you are actually in Mobile as we speak, because Swetman Security actually has a role at the Senior Bowl, which I knew well as a former publisher of the Mobile Press Register. I was well connected to the folks who put on the Senior Bowl and the community, the way they roll out the red carpet and all the festivities that are involved. But there's a need for security, and you guys are over there. So thanks for joining us, my friend.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able a little remote today in the field working, and but with technology we can always make it work out. It's great.
You know what's interesting? You look back, and we can talk specifically about what you guys are involved in over there. The Swetman Security Company is involved in over there. But you look back in time, and there were some moments when there was a possibility the Senior Bowl would cease to exist. The community rallied. And, collegiate football rallied, and it's really sort of found its place. I know, most of us who are Saints fans watch what's happening over there very carefully each year, because the Saints, they're able to find diamonds in the rough that they discover over there because they're heavily involved over there. But, you've got the cream of the crop there right now, and you've seen many of them, haven't you?
Oh yeah, I was just. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. I was
That's
just
okay.
on the field with Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. I'm watching them work out, warm up, and and I was really kind of thinking to myself, "Wow, what a cool day in the office today."
So what's Swetman responsibilities over there?
Well, so part of that, you talk about keeping them here and having them here, is we're at this gorgeous new stadium that the University of South Alabama has, the Hancock Whitney Stadium. And so it's just a fantastic facility. And we work for the University of South Alabama. So we do all athletics here. So that's ticket takers, ushers, parking assistants, access control. We also worked at LAD. So we did it when it was over there. So we're the facilities security team. And this is the facility the Senior Bowl is using. It's perfect for them. It's beautiful. And so we're here doing all kind of different staffing functions, maintaining access control and security for all the athletes and the staff.
Well, listen, I had a wonderful conversation last week with Hunter Dawkins, who's the president and publisher of the Gazebo Gazette here in Coastal Mississippi, and also a contributor to SuperTalk Mississippi Media. And we were talking about the challenges how does Southern Miss survive and have a great winning program in the day of the transfer portal and NIL and cooperatives and all of that. It was an interesting conversation. But one of the things I pointed out is the moment that the University of South Alabama decided to have a football team, it created more challenges for Southern Miss because we're pulling from a lot of the same areas. As the former publisher of the Press Register, I spent some time over there, got to know the former president of USA. In fact, worked closely with him after the oil spill. He has since passed away, but I remember when I was there, he had the vision to build that stadium. It was really important. He was working really hard to get buy-in from the community and from the city and from the state to go forward with that. But the vision for that campus, the vision for the facility where you are now, a lot of thought went into that. And for anyone who doesn't really appreciate what USA's built over there, they don't really understand the kind of competitive situation they've created for not just Southern Miss, but for a lot of football teams. But it's a great dream that's becoming a reality there on that campus, isn't it?
Well, it is a beautiful campus. They have a really high academic education mark here as well, with the degrees that they're facilitating here. I'm a Southern Miss guy, that, to the top. I believe in our Eagles. We got to win the Sun Belt. Let's focus on the conference. Yep. And but we appreciate our partnerships throughout the Sun Belt. We work for several different universities in the Sun Belt. We work in the SEC. It's really cool. We're so blessed to have the opportunities, to work in all these different venues.
Listen, you heard the quote that I read at the beginning from Franklin D. Roosevelt. We need the courage of the young. May every one of us be granted the courage, the faith, and the vision to give the best that is in us. You try to live by that, don't you, Wendy?
Well, I try to live each day, and I know that I've been blessed. My mama, growing up, she'd say, "Son, always remember this: only by the grace of God goes any of us." And I get up every day just thankful for what God's given us and asking Him for an opportunity to serve, like present that opportunity. And so I look for it. And I think that's a lot of things in our attitude. Are you looking for it? Are you looking for a way to serve? Are you looking for a way to help others? And if you're looking for it, I promise you it's there. It's all over. And you'll find that road that's laid out for you.
You saw where Cheetah Rivera, the trailblazing actress and singer, died. But, in the interviews that they played about her life, one of the things she said just really struck me. And she said this: just think you can do anything until you find out you can't. Yeah, I love that. That's about finding sort of what are the outer limits of your potential. But what I've enjoyed watching you, whether it be as a supervisor and your time in public life or your work in the community in so many different ways, especially around the homeless that we'll get to at some point during this conversation. You are all about maximizing whatever your capabilities are. And you kind of live in the moment and work hard to get the best version of yourself every day. And that's something you do. That's something you consciously focus on, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, what I do constantly focus on, and my dad's this great example is I can't remember a day in my life where my dad doesn't get up with a great attitude, and nothing really stops us. You keep moving forward. Life happens, and you've got to just, take what's in front of you and make the best of it and make the best opportunities of it, and just be grateful.
Yeah, and grateful, I know you are. So for people who don't know about your business, I mean, Swetman Security started as a small security service and has evolved into this multi-state significant company working in so many different arenas. Give us a sense of what Swetman is. I didn't realize this. We're at the end of this segment, so why don't we do this? We're going to pick it up with a description of Swetman Security Service these days. Tell a little bit about the growth that has taken place there, and then we'll shift gears and talk a little bit about the community work that you're involved in. We'll see you with Wendy Swetman after this break. We'll see. Welcome back to the Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank studio. Cammie Martin, who is she actually is like Kyle, kind of a jack of all trades. She has social media responsibilities for SuperTalk Mississippi Media. She is the content producer for this show. She's the one who I work closely with to determine who the guests are. We vet a lot of people. What's interesting, we get a lot of requests to be on the show, but since this is sort of a long form show, where we do, we try to have a guest for each show, and as opposed to having two guests for every show, we want to have long form. We want to talk about things. We want to see what's on people's minds. Some people who want to be on the show, when we talk to them on the phone, they give quick answers, and we pretty quickly realize that they're not necessarily suited for a long-form show. If it were a soundbite show, that would be great. But Cammie's been awesome, and we have been able to have over 900 conversations since we started this show over 3 years ago, and she's been terrific. But we saw, when the weather started to get cold recently, it hit us that if we were going to kind of find out, what's going on in the homeless community, what's going on in those vulnerable communities where the cold impacts them, that someone like Wendy Swetman, someone we need to touch base with. And then we got to looking and realized we haven't talked to Wendy in a while. He's somebody we want to come back to more regularly just to see what's going on in his world. So I'm thrilled to have Wendy back, and I want to give my partner, along with Kyle Curley, I might add, the producer of this show, Cammie Martin, the credit to say, we need to circle back and talk to my friends, our friend Wendy Swetman. When we went to a break, Wendy was telling us about Swetman Security Service. He's the CEO. It has evolved it's still a family business, but it has evolved into this multi-state significant business. And why don't you pick it up from there, Wendy, and tell us about where you guys are these days?
Well, we're celebrating our 50th year this year in 2024. So we're going to do a big celebration, inviting all of our clients, former and current, and all of our employees. And we're looking to do that sometime around March or April. And we started with my mom and dad, and they worked real hard, had great work ethics in their 70s there in Biloxi. And then, 2 turned to 20 and 20 to 40. And now we got about 1,000 employees working in the southern Mississippi, or should I say the entire state of Mississippi, Alabama, and southern Louisiana, is where Swetman's is now. And it's just a great, I think, American story about work hard, be good citizens, good corporate citizens. We've always prided ourselves on giving back. And we are a family operated business, and we haven't lost that touch. And that's important to us, to not lose the touch of being, involved in the field with our team, working side by side with them, and just being more than just a job.
Well, as I so well know, because as you know, later in my career, I had responsibilities for multiple companies, about a couple thousand people in the final year of my employment before I retired. What I came to appreciate through all those years was that you got to have a strong team, man. You got to have people that you can trust that are handling things on the local level. I would imagine with a company as large as yours, with now 1,000 employees, you got a bunch of layers, but you have to have a team you can rely on. How have you guys gone about building that strong team?
It's personal relationships. It really is. We develop from within the company. We go out and we look for people. We recruit every day. Our events division that we have an industrial division. So we work in ports, power companies, hospitals. We work in schools. We work in universities. It's real diverse all along the line. The events division gets a lot of part-time people coming in and out. You kind of get a little perspective for their work ethic, their customer service skills, their overall competency, and we can recruit from within that pool. And that's really helped us out a whole lot. And at the end of the day, you want to give people a fair wage, but I think the reason why they stay is they gotta know you care about them. They gotta know that, whatever happens in their life, that you're there for them just as much as you need them to be there for the company. And I think that's what's been just so important with us, is just that we are a family business, and the management team and the team members here at Swetman's, we treat them that way.
Well, what you're describing is the culture. Too many people, too many companies take culture for granted. They don't realize that if you don't really focus on that, if you don't focus on what are the enduring core values that make your company a company that is literally built to last, so that these values are the things that kind of keeps us together. If you go about hiring all your people from outside, your leaders of the company, the managers of your company, then over time you'll start to lose track of and lose control of the culture that you want to create, which is, as you pointed out, a family-focused, employee-focused kind of company. And when you take care of your employees and you create the environment they want to work in, then you're going to be able to make your customers happy. Promoting from within has been proven to be the way to do that. You teach people the culture. They sort of live it, and as they move up in the company, they teach it to others, and it creates kind of a solid base. And as you're growing a company, as you pointed out, to 1,000 employees or nearly 1,000 employees, the culture is really important, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It only takes one to create a cancer in that, and it could kill an entire division. And so I have no patience for that at all. If you want to work here, we want you here. If you don't want to be here, it's okay. Find a job somewhere else. At the end of the day, it's results driven, right? We all got to produce. We got to do our job. But you can. You're going to go a little bit longer if you know that the person that you're working with and the team you're on care about you. And I think that's just in any organization you're in.
Well, you are right about that. You're right about that. Keep the focus on the prize, and the prize is making your customers happy. And when you've got customers in so many different divisions, it's a big deal. And the other thing about security service that you and I talked about last time, we don't need to go through this whole story again, but the evolution of security these days. There's a lot of possibilities out there these days. So there's a lot of training that you guys are involved in. From someone in your position, there's a lot to worry about, really, isn't there?
Well, Ricky, there's uncertainty in the world. It's not just in your community; it's in the world, and we just have to, prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Right? That's in everything we do.
You mentioned schools. It's a sad reality of security growth these days that a lot of schools have security officers actually on site. Some have more than one. But that's the thing that you need to do to make parents and kids feel safe. It's sad that we're in that place, but there's a role for you to play in helping families feel safe, and you don't take that lightly, do you?
Oh, not at all. Our Commissioner of Public Safety, Sean Tyndall, this is a top priority for him. If you've paid attention to Sean and what he's talking about, he's working real hard for a plan to have Mississippi schools safe. And we've been working with him and having conversations. And I'm able to give a perspective from the public law enforcement side, being a 30-year law enforcement officer, and then the private security side. And so I think we're moving forward in the right direction in Mississippi, but we got good leadership in Mississippi right now, and we're just glad to be a part of the conversation and be involved.
Hey, listen, Sean and I have become friends, and he joins me on the show regularly, so we can tell the story of his vast responsibilities across the state. But I often, when I think of him, I think no rest for the weary, because he's hitting on a bunch of cylinders. He's working really hard for the state of Mississippi. If you think about his past his time in the legislature, his time as a lawyer and prosecutor, his time as a judge. It puts him in a great position to be an excellent head of public safety for Mississippi. And, we're really lucky to have him, aren't we?
Well, can I tell you, there's a lot of really smart people and experienced people, but I don't think you're going to find someone who cares more than Sean. Sean is a good person. He genuinely cares. He's good to people. I've known him a long time, and I think that's the difference maker right now.
No, I can't. I definitely agree tremendously. And he's taken on more responsibilities, the Capitol Police, and there's been some other aspects of what he's doing that's been added to his division. But he does it with a smile, and he builds a strong team, and he's focused on trying to keep Mississippi safe. How's business overall for you?
Overall, it's growing. I think that's the next challenge for us right now, smart growth. Don't take on too much. Don't let it get watered down, the product that we have. There's things that we do really well. Let's keep doing what we do well. And dependability is the difference. That's kind of always been our motto. And we don't want to do anything that's going to water that down. So right now, that's really my challenge as a CEO.
Well, back when I was president and publisher of the Sun Herald, Swetman Security provided the security for us and for so many companies. When we come back on the other side, we'll talk about, you mentioned all the different divisions, the industrial and collegiate and schools, all the stuff that you're working on. We'd be interested to talk a little bit about each one of those and where your growth is coming from these days. And then we're going to shift gears and talk about the homeless community and what you observe these days and the efforts that are underway to keep the homeless community safe. We'll see you after this break with Wendy Swetman. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio. We have my friends Wendy Swetman, who is the CEO of Swetman Security Service and a big time volunteer in the community. He's actually in his truck, sitting in the parking lot of the University of South Alabama Stadium, sponsored by Hancock Whitney, and got a big role to play as it relates to the Senior Bowl. But man, I tell you, I don't know have you had an opportunity to be involved in any of the festivities surrounding the Senior Bowl?
Well, from an employment standpoint, we're there at all of them. We've got staff there. We have a big concert that we do every year with them in downtown. That's kind of questionable. The weather's looking not so favorable for Saturday evening. So, there's a lot of moving parts when you have big events like this, because it's a week long, a lot of things happening, a lot of different variables. It's our job to be fluid and flexible and just, move whatever the needs of the Senior Bowl is.
Well, what's so cool about what they do is they want, first of all, you got all these professional NFL coaches that are in town, which is a big deal, actually. And so there's a lot of evaluating going on. But the city is really focused on creating a great experience for all of those coaches and trainers and personnel directors, et cetera. And then on top of that, you want the players who are coming through Mobile to enjoy it. So, the dinners and the lunches and all the activities that they're involved in. I remember the very last luncheon that I went to when I was over there as the president and publisher of the Mobile Press Register. Charles Barkley was the speaker, and I had the opportunity to sit with him during lunch and get to know him better. And, he's everything that you would have expected him to be. But a lot of celebrities come because they want to be a part of it. They want to get to know these kids that are going to have incredible futures in the NFL. And, you're surrounded when you're on that field by a lot of stars, aren't you, buddy?
Oh, yeah. And just in the business, we do a lot of concert venues as well. I mean, we're all over. So, yes, we do kind of get to be a fly on the wall, so to speak, around a lot of different interesting people, from all kind of different backgrounds. And it is pretty neat.
Hey, listen, you were talking about the various, segments that you're involved in. Where's your biggest growth coming from these days?
Definitely right now is schools. We've been growing in schools. We work in elementary, middle, and high schools in Harrison, Hancock, Jackson County. We work in both private and public schools. We've kind of capped it right there because, part of my background in law enforcement, I was a school resource supervisor. So I'm a nationally certified school resource supervisor through NASRO. And I just kind of parlay that from the private public sector into the private sector. But that's something you got to have your hands on. You cannot be in any way absent from the day-to-day of that. So really, I'm in a cap on that. The 3 southern counties, I can get there. I'm engaged with those officers every day.
Hey, listen, you can tell me if you do this or not, but the point is still important. My daughter teaches at St. James Elementary, and I have 4 grandkids there, and they have a full-time officer there. Is that officer from Swetman?
Yes, that's Officer Carlos Page. He's done a great job. We do a lot of recruiting, right? We're always looking for our best products. Carlos, state certified police officer. He started out Hattiesburg PD. He was a police chief in Lumberton, and he's a single dad though, and it brought him to the Gulf Coast. And that job there works out really good for him, being a single dad. And we're really lucky to have him, his training and experience. And he's bought in. He's a stakeholder in that school.
Listen, I can tell you from my experience and from of course, Ann and I are active in the school because all our kids went there. And then, of course, now 4 grandkids there and got a daughter teaching 3rd grade there. Man, he is a loved dude. I mean, he is great with the families. He's great with the kids. He has fun with them. But at the same time, he is dead serious about his job. His role is to keep the kids safe. And they've really done a great job of locking that school down, and doing some additional things actually as a result of him being there. You get the button down even more. Man, if he is emblematic of what you're getting in other schools, wow, you guys are serious about what you're doing. And I would just say congratulations for giving all of us peace of mind.
Well, we have a diverse background where these officers come from. Military, law enforcement, just their life experience. That's the most important thing I'm looking at is I want to look at their life experience, certainly their integrity, their character in that, and then their capability. So there's a lot of things we take into play.
Yeah, it's clear that you're doing that. Hey, listen, you've been engaged in the community for a very long time, and you have a special place in your heart for the homeless community. What's going on in your life related to that these days?
Well, we're doing the same thing I've been doing 14 years now. I've been the voluntary director for a cold weather shelter. It's a little rudimentary, and that's what makes it so successful. We keep it simple. So 14 years ago, I was the county supervisor, and I'm driving down the road. I see 2 guys that obviously they look, unsheltered, and it's drizzling cold. And it just hit me. I'm like, well, where can they go? And then looking, there was nowhere. We didn't have anywhere for them to go. And so I saw a need and took a collaborative and got out there and worked with other nonprofits and partners in the community. And now, since that day, we anytime the temperature gets below 40 degrees, we've got a warm place for those to go.
Hey, listen, Bishop Kinnaman is a good friend. He'll come over and go fishing with me from time to time, and we just enjoy sort of downtime together. And he's a special guy. But the last time he was over, we had a long talk about the homeless community. He's obviously terribly concerned about it and working through the diocese to address that. I had another friend of mine, and I don't know if this number is exactly correct, but I think it's pretty close. But we were talking about the Broadwater, the part of the Broadwater property that is now woods that used to be the golf course, that once they did a count of the number of homeless that were actually on that property, and the number was something like 27, if I'm remembering that number right. But the point is that in areas like that, all across coastal Mississippi, there are little homeless encampments that have cropped up, and we can dodge, out of sight, out of mind. We can dodge a conversation about the reality of that, but you have not been able to turn your head to the large number of homeless in our community, have you?
No, not at all. There's a homeless community. Let's remember that. These aren't as just one-offs. There's a homeless community there, and for a million different reasons, right? But at the end of the day, these are human beings. And, we should be, as Christians, it's our responsibility to care for those that are in need, whatever the need may be. And so this is just one that I saw, and it's one thing that I could do. And again, my job now is just to kind of direct, who's going where. But there's wonderful partners. So Loaves and Fishes is part of the Catholic Diocese. They're working really hard right now over there at the old Mercy Cross property to try to get a day shelter going. And so the Catholic Diocese is heavily involved in that. Feed My Sheep over in Gulfport, they do a tremendous job over there. Salvation Army that I'm real involved in is just doing miracles in the community. There's a lot of great people. The Board of Supervisors have always continued to support the efforts by still providing the building that we're in. Dan Cuevas, the new county supervisor in District 1, the seat that I used to sit in, he's been over and visited the shelter a couple times. Dan's got a big heart, really excited to see his interest in that. CTA, they transport for free when we have cold weather days like that to get people there. Public law enforcement will pick up people on the streets and bring them in. We had as many as 80 people in shelter just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that's incredible, Wendy. That's incredible. Yeah, the old Mercy Cross location in Biloxi is what the bishop and I talked about, and he was you analyze the situation, and what's happening is you have organizations and volunteers that are just working together to fill gaps, and it comes in a bunch of ways. Some are just collecting tarps and money and maybe coats that they're providing to people who are in the homeless community. Of course, you have things like Feed My Sheep and Loaves and Fishes and things like Salvation Army and the role that they play. But you've got all in every community you have these gaps. And you're going to find people that are coming together in various ways to fill those gaps. And the Biloxi Diocese said we got to play a bigger role in that. And it's exciting to see that they're working to fill that gap. It's not easy. It's a lot of hard work. But as you point out, it's a community that needs us to come together because it's the Christian thing to do. It's been I think helpful to me to have conversations with people who are focused on the homeless community. People tend to think of them as drug addicts, and some certainly have some issues with that. A lot of them are families, and people are just down on their luck and find themselves in a bad situation, and they need help. And once you get in and dive in and understand who they are and get to know them better, it's hard to turn your head, isn't it?
I do get to know them better, and that's just it. We're on a first name basis. For me, I might be a businessman's at lunch one day at Mahoney's, and you're in the room with a bunch of, CEOs and this and that. And then I walk back to my office and I go through Vu Marché, walking back over there, and there's the homeless guy right there. And we're on first name basis as well. And I'll stop and talk to them just like I stop and talk to anybody anywhere else and ask them how their day is going. Can I help them?
We'll pick it up from there. This is Wendy Swetman. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Matthews Show from the Citizens Bank Studio, and we have my friend Wendy Swetman from Swetman Security Service. Someone I really enjoy checking in with. One of the things I remember something that happened about a year after Hurricane Katrina, and after Hurricane Katrina, we were lots of people were coming together with Haley Barbour to form the Governor's Commission, and we spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours focused on efforts to help coastal Mississippi come back. And I actually wrote a book that maybe one day I'll publish. But what I said is, what is it about Hurricane Katrina that made it clear to us that before the storm, we actually misjudged people, that type A personalities tended to get all the attention, and there were type B personalities out there that weren't bringing a lot of attention on themselves. So before the storm, we kind of only knew the type A's, some type B's, but mostly a lot of type A's. And a lot of type A's came to the forefront after Katrina, I might add. So just because they were a certain type didn't mean I discounted them in any way. But what happened after Katrina, though, is that people you would have never expected before the storm to step up, they did. People came out of the woodwork. And what you came to understand is that we didn't spend enough time before the storm understanding the essence of who people are. We tended to, we're moving through life too fast, and the type A's are the ones who get all the attention. But there's a whole other group of people out there that are just doing their thing and helping. About a year after the storm, I got a call from a guy who said, I want to help you guys on the recovery effort. No one ever asked me to participate. I'm like, what? Are you serious? This wasn't a time in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. It wasn't a time when, you had to be asked to participate. You just stepped up to the plate and did what was necessary. And I said, look, we'd love to have you, man, because we're kind of tired. And, better late than never is really what I thought. I didn't say it, but that's what I thought. Whether you're talking about an effort like Hurricane Katrina and the massive rebuilding effort we had, or the focus on the homeless community at all points in between, we need people who want to step forward. We need people to step forward. Wendy, we can never have enough volunteers focused in coastal Mississippi. You name the platform they can be involved in, the nonprofit effort they can be involved in, the gap that they can be involved in. And we can never have enough volunteers, can we?
Well, we certainly know there's a lot more opportunities than there are volunteers. And we need people that truly are about the mission, not about themselves, and the role they can play to be successful in the effort. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Hey, what I would say is, like, for example, if a company is looking for a company effort, something you can rally your employees around, if you own a company or CEO or maybe a major leader in a company, why don't you consider putting a team together focused on the homeless community? Or maybe you're just an individual and you want to give back. Maybe you just want to give a day or an afternoon a month. Or maybe you want to kick into gear when it gets cold and help with the more than 80 people they recently helped in the cold effort that they had underway. But if it were the homeless community, what do you recommend if someone who's really wanted to get serious about it? What can they do?
Well, Back Bay Mission in Biloxi is a great organization to get involved in. Loaves and Fishes, Salvation Army. These are all organizations that have a mission, a focus. So if you go to them and you're like, hey, I do have one day a week or my one day a month, whatever it may be, they're gonna know where that need is and where they can plug you in to get the highest value for your time that you're there.
Well, that's good advice. That's really good advice. And remind people why it would be important for them to give. I mean, they're going to get more from it than they're actually going to give, aren't they?
To truly understand your community and where you live, you get on boots on the ground. Get on the front lines of your community, and that's what we're doing when we're working with those that are unsheltered, those that are in need. We're on the front lines of the community, truly seeing kind of life through their eyes as you listen to their stories and you just spend a little time with them. Ricky, one thing that, it's easy to write a check. A lot of these people just need to know that someone cares. Give them some hope as they go through their day. And I've seen real success stories through the years, too.
I know you have, man. I know you have. And your mother, I love, you're the CEO of the company, but your mother's still involved in the effort. And your dad's still around. It's great to have your family engaged. And now you've got wife and kids, and everyone sort of buys into this, don't they?
Absolutely. I'm blessed. My mom and dad have been great mentors. My mom is the president and owner of Swetman Security Service. She did an amazing job sustaining the company. Her and my dad started it together. They were a great combination in the beginning of the company. My dad is retired, was a constable for all those years, and he helps me too with day-to-day activities to keep things going. I'm blessed to have an amazing family. I got wonderful sisters and little brother, and everybody plays a role in one fashion or the other.
It's great to hear it. It's great to hear it. So you let the inspiration for today's conversation be, there are gaps in the community. You can never have enough volunteers. Find a role that you can play. Find a role. Call Back Bay Mission or United Way or wherever, and find a place where you can get, as he pointed out, the boot on the ground. Get your boots on the ground and see the challenges in our community. And by the way, it may be a challenge, but there's going to be enlightenment, there's going to be encouragement, and there's going to be inspiration that you're going to get from it that's going to be way more than you actually give. So find a way to do that, and let that be sort of the message for today's show. So Wendy Swetman, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate the opportunity to come on.
You bet. You bet. Listen, have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.